The Rogue was one of the original rivers designated as a wild and scenic river. It's had that protection since 1968.
There's no roads, there's no power lines. It really is a wilderness experience, yet it's in the backyard of a couple of fairly good-sized cities.
It really has easy access. It makes it very easy for people to plan a trip and get on the water and do a multi-day adventure.
You can float down and, be away from society.
You can go with a guided outfit, or you can go by yourself as a family, depending on your experience. There are just so many things to do and see.
The whitewater opportunities, and then of course the wild section and the opportunity to get away from civilization.
Along the way, you're probably going to see bear and eagles and whitewater. You're going to see a lot of cultural history along the way. Beautiful scenery, rain or shine.
Get some solitude, see wildlife, go fishing for steelhead. It's a world-renowned river for fishing.
Just the experience of being down there in this atmosphere is tremendous.
It offers this wilderness experience that's, most people have to go thousands of miles, hundreds of miles to get to. So it's very unique in that respect.
It's just really important that we offer the opportunity for people to be out here.
So we're all caretakers of this river and these public lands, and here are some tips that will help you have an enjoyable trip, a safe trip, and help preserve this wonderful area.
Boating on the Rogue River does constitute some risk. Do your homework ahead of time before you come and enjoy yourself on the river. Whatever you're going to bring, be proficient with using it, and to have a safety talk at a boat ramp, do some demonstrations, physically have those people put their hands on some of the safety gear and things like that you would have in your group is very, very important. All persons are required to have a United States Coast Guard approved wearable life jacket with them. Any boat that is 16 feet and longer is required to have a Type 4 throwable or throw ring with them as well. And kids that are 12 years old and younger are required to wear their life jacket at all times. If you are in Class 3 whitewater, you are required to wear a life jacket, either a Type 1, a Type 3, or a Type 5. It's very important for any boat that's out there to have some sort of a sound-producing device. Typically, you would want to wear that on your life jacket in case you got separated from the boat and you needed to signal for somebody's help. To make sure that your life jacket or PFD fits correctly, you want to make sure that it has all the zippers, all the snaps, all the buckles, and then make sure that you cinch it up, it gets good and tight. And then one thing to do is, if you have a buddy or somebody that can help you, is you want to grab it by the top and pull up on the life jacket. And if it actually comes up above the bottom of your ears, then that life jacket is too large, it's too big. Water levels are very important to know, high water or low water. So you need to make sure that you know those water levels. Boaters should always be looking for hazards, trees, logs in the river, landslides, and then fires for that matter. You can get caught out there, so you want to make sure that you're paying attention to those things. You can scout anything, but Rainy Falls, Blossom Bar, and Upper Black Bar. Those three are essentially very large rapids that are on the river. They're long. Rainy Falls in particular has a very large drop to it. Blossom Bar is very, very long. There's a lot of obstacles and obstructions that are within it.
Blossom Bar demands boaters' attention. It is a much more technical section of the river than the rest of the river leading up to it. In fact, you can walk around Blossom, and it does really help the rower to get the weight off the boat, get the boat up in the water so it's lighter and easier to maneuver, and have the people join them when they get down to the bottom. All boaters, including veteran boaters, should scout Blossom Bar. Not only do the conditions change, but often there can be equipment that people have lost or even boats wrapped around the rocks. There's a must-make move at the top of Blossom Bar that gets you set up to avoid the strainer that the rocks form along the side called the picket fence.
It's important to contribute to the positive atmosphere of the river community because it enhances everybody's enjoyment of their trip. Your first opportunity to demonstrate your river etiquette skills is at the launch site. And if you're launching from Grave Creek boat ramp, then you need to be aware that the boat ramp has limited space, and good river etiquette would be launching your boat fairly quickly, unloading your gear, and then removing your vehicle in a timely manner such that others can quickly use the ramp as well. Also move your boat to either side of the boat ramp, and then you can gear up at your leisure or have lunch, but you're not interfering then with others that might show up. Poor river etiquette would be crowding other boats, especially if the water starts picking up speed and going towards the rapid. If it turns out farther down the river that that group that launched before you is a little slower than you are and you need to pass them, it's okay to do that, but pass them in calm water. If boats are too close together when they get into whitewater, they can actually start hitting each other and things can get really tense. If you're floating the river and you see people fishing from the shores or out of other boats, be aware of where their lines are in the river and avoid those. Go as far away one side or the other just to pass by so you're not interfering with their experience on the river.
Leave no trace is very important in the river corridor because boaters are concentrated within the corridor. So leave no trace is important to pack out, your human waste, to follow fire regulations, to pack out anything that you bring in. Whatever you bring in, you take out with you. And there is potential for actually 500 people to be within those 30, about 35 miles per day. And so that's why it's important to practice all principles of leave no trace to save that experience for all the other groups that are coming through so they see it in its pristine condition.
So the BLM regulates the number of people that go down the wild section of the river. We cap it at 120 people per day, and roughly half of that is commercial activity. The other half is non-commercial. There is no reservation system on the river. It's first come, first serve, and there can be competition for campsites. There is enough room for everybody, but there is a real limit in the number of large campsites that are out there. And so, we really try hard to encourage people to pick the appropriate size campsite for their group. Small groups are considered to be 9 people or less. Large groups are 10 people and above. If a small group chooses to stay in a large campsite, what they need to do is be aware that a large group could come in and really need to stay there, that they just need to be courteous and kind to the groups that are coming in and be welcoming. A lot of folks don't really want to share a campsite, and I think going into your trip knowing that and planning ahead, looking for the small sites ahead of time so you kind of have a destination that maybe nobody else wants if it suits your needs. I think these are all great strategies to ensuring that people get the experience that they really want. It's easy to find solitude in a campsite. There are plenty of places along the river for small groups to camp. They might not be designated, they might not even be on a float guide or written up, and these can be great places to camp, and every place that you stop is going to have something unique to offer.
Campfire regulations vary quite a bit through the season. In the spring, early season on, everything's wet and growing green. It's okay to have a campfire, open fire. But later in the year, as things start drying out, then campfires will be taken off the list of what's allowed. When you do have a campfire in camp, it has to be in a fire pan so that you're not scarring the ground and showing evidence that you have a campfire there. Later, when that goes away because the conditions get too dry, then charcoal is okay and a propane stove. When conditions get really dry, even charcoal briquettes will not be allowed anymore, and the only way of cooking would be with propane. We'll tell customers at the Rand Visitor Center what the current conditions are, but also be aware that it might change within a day. If you checked one day and show up the next day, it might have changed in that time frame. After you've had a campfire and are getting ready to leave the next morning, you need to take out all of the fire debris that you burnt the night before. All the ashes, all the charcoal, and any evidence essentially that you had a fire there that night. During certain fire restrictions, boaters are going to be required to carry a bucket and a shovel. The bucket needs to be a minimum of 1 gallon. These tools will allow people to get to a fire quickly and possibly put it out before it can grow.
The Rogue River requires boaters to carry a watertight approved container down the river that fills up the entire capacity of human waste that could come from your group. So the reason why the Rogue River does require human waste to be packed out is because we are trying to minimize the amount of toilet paper gardens that could come across at these campsites. Campsites are being used on a daily basis, so people could be at that campsite night after night after night for the whole summer. So if you think about it, that could be a lot of human waste at that campsite. Toilet paper gardens, they're just nasty to see, could create a health hazard having all that waste in a confined area, so we're minimizing that type of impact. When boaters check in at the Rand Visitor Center, they will receive a portable toilet guide. That guide shows what campsites along the river have a government-provided toilet. At those sites, it states that boaters aren't actually required to set their human waste removal system up at that spot because there is a toilet already provided. Groups should set up their human waste removal system within 30 minutes of arriving at their campsite for the evening. Boaters should set up their portable toilet somewhere that is easily accessible for their group to get to. So at the end of your trip, if you do end at Foster Bar, we provide a scat machine that users can use for most toilet systems. It doesn't accommodate all systems, so you do want to look that up to know if yours fits in the scat machine. If you do use one of the approved bag systems, the Biffy bag, the Wag bag, or the Rest Stop 2 bag, those can be thrown into the dumpster at Foster Bar.
Well, there's a long cultural history along the Rogue River. Native American people used this area for thousands of years to harvest deer, acorn, fish, as well as the camas along the river. Early settlers came into the area to mine and to homestead and came into conflict with the Native Americans that were living here then. And in the mid-1850s, most of the Native Americans were forcibly removed to reservations in a northern part of Oregon, but their families still have close ties to this river. Traces of the miners and settlers can be found at various sites along the Rogue River. You can find things like mine tailings, old mining equipment, as well as tin cans, cabins, and other features. Archaeological sites on federal lands are protected by laws. The National Historic Preservation Act makes it illegal to remove any of the artifacts, including arrowheads, tin cans, mining artifacts, from any of the sites along the river. The cultural sites along the Rogue River help tell a story about the area, so it's important that people don't camp on top of them, don't remove any of the artifacts that are within them, so that the people that come afterwards can understand the story of what happened here.
It's very likely anyone on the river is going to see black bears. They're quite common. It's important to keep a clean camp for all the boaters out there. That prevents the bears from coming in, and other wildlife like raccoons, some of the jays and the crows who predate other birds and other bird nests. Boaters also have access to bear fences. We put them out during the peak season, both BLM and the Forest Service. And so those should be used to keep any coolers or any kind of food in there. It's electrified, and so it prevents the bears from getting into the coolers and eventually getting habituated to people. The other advantage of putting your equipment into the bear fences is it also prevents the bear from destroying your coolers. When you're on the river, once you're finished with the bear fence and you're going to proceed downriver, be sure to follow the instructions on how to set that bear fence up. We want the gates closed, but also turn them back on because they should stay on all the time, even though there may not be anybody else at that campsite. So the reason to leave the bear fence on after you leave is bears can feel and sense that the electricity is still going through those fences, and so they'll stay away from them. If you're at a campsite and there are no electric fences, then you need to string anything that the bear might be attracted to high in a tree. Some people have had success by putting ammonia out. You can put your pots and pans on top of the cooler, and then if the bear does disturb it or another animal, then you'll hear it and you'll wake up. You can also leave on lights, and sometimes that'll work. The Forest Service and BLM have bear observation forms for you to fill out, and you can pick those up at the beginning of your trip and drop them off at the end of the trip. And they're very important. It allows us to track how many bears are being seen and not seen. It's important to get the negative information too. And also if there's been any kind of encounter, if you've had to try to ward off if there's a particular bear that's getting aggressive. There's a lot of questions on there. You don't have to answer them all, but give us what information you can. We really appreciate it. While you're on the river, if you see anyone engaged in any dangerous practices or enticing a bear or trying to feed it or getting in too close to the bear, be sure to document it as much as you can. If you have a picture and photos, that's very useful, and get them to a Forest Service or BLM office. Gathering this information about the bear encounters allows us to make sure that there are fewer bear interactions and also potentially a situation where a bear has to be removed.
The Rogue River is a dog-friendly river. Just like with human waste, we would like to see owners also pack out their dogs' waste, especially if it's right in the middle of a campsite or right on the trail. Equip your dog with a PFD for their own safety and for your safety if your dog did end up in the river. Dog owners should control their dogs. Don't allow your dog to approach another group unless it is okay with that other group. Don't allow your dog to harass wildlife. Just be aware of what your dog's doing.
The Rogue is an amazing place to work. You just meet a lot of really neat people, and to me that's really gratifying. It's really fulfilling. The leave no trace policy is so important for people to understand and to know the concepts, because that is what allows us to protect the resource. The BLM and the Forest Service both patrol the Rogue. Patrolling the Rogue might mean floating down to do some maintenance and just casually seeing what people are up to, but it could also be more formal, where we stop and we talk to each and every group along the way, ensuring that the guidelines are all being met. So any given group can expect to interact with us rangers along the way. It's what we do, it's our job, and we really like it. It's a lot of fun just to find out how people are doing. Groups can be expected to have their portable toilets checked to ensure that they're set up in the proper location. We're also going to be looking at their boats to make sure they're each tagged correctly. Each boat has to have a tag on it to identify its permit number. We're also going to do a head count, make sure that the correct number of people are there. We want to ensure that each group is following the fire regulations. If fires are allowed, the fires need to be in a fire pan within 400 feet of the river's edge.
We are all striving to maintain this beautiful jewel of a river that we get to spend time on.
Ensuring that each customer, each family that comes down here throughout the summer gets to experience the same thing as the person before them.
And it's important to preserve it so that the people that are following behind you see it in that same state. So when they come across a campsite, they can walk up to that campsite and feel like they are the first people to step foot at that site.
Like any natural resource, the road needs to be preserved and cared for by all people that use it for later generations, for other people coming down, not just tomorrow or the next day, but a decade from now.
Open space is rapidly disappearing, as populations increase across the nation. And to have a place where you can go and experience the solitude and the adventure that this river has to offer, for future generations, we need to be able to provide this.